First one is Second Empire Homes, regarding the use of the town right-of-way between map U4 100 and 101.
Charlie, my husband was still alive, he was 97, Illinois, I wanted to cheat. Haven't I seen this one before? Oh, my goodness. By the way, I didn't know anything. Susan, you take note of that. I did not take action on this item at the ZBA, knowing that it would be coming here.
This the house on First Street?
Can I take this off, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
This is the house on First Street that we looked at?
It is. So if you like, would like me to start?
Get right into it.
All right. So we were here some months ago, as you may recall, here on behalf of the Second Empire, and they purchased 2 lots at the end of First Street and Great Pond Road. I think everybody here, with the exception of Lectra, were present at that meeting, so I don't really have to go through all that again. But she was there for the ZBA hearing that we had, and is pretty well familiar with the property. But just a quick recap: 2 pieces of property separated by a 30-foot right-of-way off the end of Great Pond Road, which is a right-of-way that's maintained by the town. Currently, there's nothing in there. It's just the remains of a wide trail that comes in from Camp Lincoln. On the smaller lot, the one on the right as you face it from the plan, lot 101, that's what was the house lot. There was a 2-bedroom, 644 square foot home on that. When Second Empire purchased the property, the house was in a state of disrepair, so they decided to raise it and remove it rather than have any sort of issues with vandalization or people getting hurt there. So they removed that. The other lot, the larger lot, lot 100, has never been developed. There's nothing on that lot. So they purchased the 2 properties and, in hopes of constructing a home. And as you may recall from our first proposal, we were going to propose a fairly good-sized home on the larger lot, the lot on the left. We met with this board, chatted about it, went on a site walk, and ultimately, I think the decision was that the larger house lot with a much larger home, there was going to be too many impacts that really couldn't be mitigated in regards to stormwater, some of the issues with the little bit of wetland that's already out there with snow plowing, that sort of thing. So we rethought the thing and went back to the lot on the right-hand side. And what we're proposing is a smaller home, very much in line with what was there before. It's ever so slightly larger, just so that we can meet code in regards to buildings such as landing areas and steps and that sort of thing. So it's just large enough. These guys can work with this. We prepared a septic system design. It got both the state and town approval on it. And then obviously we're not going to meet setbacks with a lot that's only 40 feet wide. So we applied to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, and we were able to get relief for the sideline as well as the front setback. So as you can see, as it's set up, small single-family home in the front of the lot, still a 2-bedroom. We're going to have a septic system behind it, approve no waivers, and we'll site the well on the big lot across the way, just so we can meet all the setbacks. We only encroached on 1 well, and that's the neighbor just to the right, lot 102. He was very happy to see this proposal come forward. He signed off on the well release, and we were able to move this thing forward. So subsequently, after the Zoning Board of Adjustment, we called up your road agent and we submitted an application for a driveway permit. And that's what kind of brought us back here, is we met with Rich at the site. We're still proposing and hope that you guys are okay with or amenable to having the driveway come in through that 30-foot wide paper street. And what it does, it allows the applicant or the Second Empire a nice way into the property, straight off the end of Great Pond Road, into the property. They'll park on the left-hand side. I think we originally had shown parking over the septic area. Rich asked that we move that. So we're parking on the bigger lot and just basically stubbing the driveway right up to the end of the property line, or where Camp Lincoln takes over. I know there's always been a strong interest from this town to someday, somehow, have a second access into Camp Lincoln. We think this not only benefits the applicant, the owner here, but also benefits the town. We'll create this driveway right up to the property line where you can see you're pretty much at that woods trail. So if there's ultimately some hope of getting some sort of connection through, you still retain that right of way. You have a nice improved driveway right up to the property line, and Second Empire has their nice access into the house. So they can put this thing on the ground and market it and sell it, hopefully. So with that being said, Rich, I think, not to take words out of his mouth, but I think he's okay with what we're proposing here with the adjustments that we made. We're looking to get these guys going. We just need permission from this board to establish this layout with this driveway.
I've got a question for you. Sure. So where the proposed 12-foot gravel driveway is,
Yep.
does that show as a Class 6 going through there?
It wouldn't be, I don't think you determine anything. It's just basically just going to be a driveway within a paper street. I mean, there's no access there now.
So it shows as a paper street now?
Just as a paper street, that's all it is. There is no improvement in there, other than that woods trail.
There were a couple of issues raised at the zoning board, and there were several members of the public that were concerned about drainage.
Yes.
And the roof runoff. That and some trees. If you could reaffirm what we are planning to do with that.
Yeah, so what we did is as Electra pointed out, there were some concerns from a couple of the abutters, as there were with the original proposal with a much larger home. So what we've done to mitigate that, and then this will actually, quite honestly, the house being about the same size as what was there before, which had no drainage captured on it, the stormwater is just allowed to just run off the site. In this case, what we're proposing is I've added the second sheet, which has some drainage details. So there's an area right in front of the house where we can capture the roof runoff via gutters and bring it into, and I left it a little bit open for the applicant what they want to propose there. The soils will support any one of the three. And this is right out of the DES handbook. We can do a dry well to capture roof runoff. There's certainly a deep enough water table and good sandy soils to support.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, but the ACs, we can barely hear these guys. If you can keep it to a dull roar.
The dry well? So we could support the stormwater capture with a dry well. You could use a rain garden. A sizing capability in here for that would work. And then you can also do contactors, the stormwater chambers. Basically the same thing as a dry well, just a slightly different arrangement there. So all three of those would do serve the purpose of capturing that stormwater. And then for the driveway, you can see we proposed an area just to the left of it on lot 100. And simply, you can just capture all that drainage for the driveway with an infiltrated trench all the way around it. Again, the soils are very sandy, porous soils. It's just basically a stone trench, 18 inches wide, 8 inches deep, and all the stormwater goes into that, captures it, at least initially, and is able to treat it that way by infiltrating it right into the ground. So it won't be adding any more drainage to or runoff to the neighboring properties. So we can capture all that and keep it on site. Unfortunately, if the house is any larger, if we had any more improvements, there's really not enough room to do it with. This is about what you're going to get here. It's about all we can fit on it. So, like I said, it works for the applicant. Hopefully, you guys like it as well.
What about those trees that someone was complaining about?
Yeah, there's the neighbor was in the one that's most greatly affected on lot 102. He has a rental property right there, and he's had some concerns with some of the big pine trees within the right of way as well as on the lot. And he'd asked the applicant if they were willing to take all of them down, and they are. So they're willing to work with the neighbor, help him out, get some of those dangerous trees away from the house, and open the area up just a little bit.
What did you say the width of that right-of-way is going towards Camp Lincoln?
Excuse me?
What's the width of that right-of-way going towards Camp Lincoln?
30 feet wide.
30 feet?
30 feet, yep.
Nothing?
And it runs back about 80 feet from the roadway.
And that's not being blocked off in any way, so people
No, not at all.
will be able to access Camp on that right away. It's still go right through.
I mean, one other thing that we could probably propose here is just have a no parking sign in there. Simply put, and I mean, they could be treated the same way as anybody that illegally parks in any town street. They could be towed.
That's why I asked if it's going to be a Class 6, because I'm sure there's going to be some hiking out through there once you establish that. We're having some issues in other areas of the town where people may park in there and hike onto the town land out behind there or onto Camp Lincoln's land. So it's something we probably want to consider because we're having that problem now.
Lane is not the best way to do things.
Well, it might be a good idea to have the applicant put the signs up, whatever Rich feels is appropriate to put out there.
Yeah, whatever Rich would like to see established there, we could put those signs in.
Is a neighbor here next door? I'd like to hear from what they have to say as far as runoff or anything.
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
Turn the AC off a bit.
I will say my biggest concern, because we have an issue throughout town, when I look at this and you're sitting your little driveway up on the U4 100 and the house across the street, I easily see this our right of way becoming your driveway. And that would be my biggest concern of parking a lawnmower, putting a shed on it, anything and everything, putting a boat trailer there. That's what I would see automatically happen with whoever buys this house, and that would be my biggest concern.
Put a fence on either side. That's it. Just give enough room to pull into the parking spot, the 3 parking places.
Yeah, I mean, that was gonna be my question, is what these tall stakes really entail, because where people don't even have a right of way from the town, they're putting all those things that he just listed, on any piece of property that's vacant and kind of claiming it as their own.
So if we had them put even split rail fence or something like that, other than where it says proposed parking space for 3 vehicles, you know what I'm saying? To delineate what we own, the town owns. That way it would minimize ownership.
With signage. With signage.
With signage, yes.
Split rail fence on both sides with signage. I think that would pretty well define it.
We just want to prohibit problems from down the road. We've got
Exactly.
problems elsewhere. So now that we go into one, we don't want to create a problem before we even,
Okay.
get too far.
All right.
I gotta tell you, I went and looked at that on a rainy day with you.
Yes.
I didn't hear you too well what you were proposing because of the air conditioner.
Sure.
But I'm really concerned, I don't mean to point at you, but for the neighbors to the left.
Yep.
Because I've seen that house underwater a number of times over the years, so that's why I wanted to hear from the neighbor next door, because you're gonna get some more water maybe, I don't know. Have you looked at this considerably well, to see what effect you're gonna have?
As far as I've come to all meetings and whatnot, and it's told what I have to say. It does get wet there, and that's my concern is all the water coming there. And I have no clue what any of the drainages he's talking about,
So what's the guarantee we won't put any more water on that gentleman's property?
Well, I think we made every effort to capture whatever we're proposing here. And like I said, the home that we're proposing is really not any bigger than what was already there. So you're basically reestablishing what already existed, and we're adding a way to capture that stormwater runoff. So I don't see any increase from this at all.
No way to swale it to run it to the back of the lot?
No, this is all done, very supportive of this kind of layout.
Actually, less non-conforming than it
Yes.
was.
Yeah.
Well, this is kind of ahead of our public hearing, but I give the opportunity for any abutters to speak at this time. If you can just come up to the microphone, if you have anything you'd like to add.
John Pava with 22 First Street. Pretty much the neighbors in the area alert everybody. Can you hear it? I didn't want to get on it. Everybody in the area, it's pretty much just the local people that are walking through using that trail, and that's the big concern with everybody, that driveway's gonna go in, and like you say, I mean, if I bought that house, I wouldn't want people walking through the middle where my cars are here and the house is here. So I think that's gonna end up being a problem. And then, you know, you don't wanna call cops on your new neighbor, hey, they're blocking the street. You know, it just causes a hassle. But that's our big concern. And our neighbor there next door, he hasn't been there that long. He hasn't had the water problem yet. So we gave him a heads up to look into it when they decided to build this property. So, knowledge is limited on the problems he could have from this. I don't know how far they're gonna build this out where this parking area is. If that's gonna cause any, I would imagine they're gonna build it up some.
What are the planned dimensions of the parking area, Trev?
The parking area is, it's about 18 feet into the property. Is that what you're asking me?
Just the dimensions of the
Yeah,
planned
about 18
space.
feet in and then 18 feet wide as well.
That's gravel.
I'm sorry, it's 27 wide, enough for 3 spaces.
Is that
9 by
gravel?
18s.
Is that gonna be gravel?
Everything's gonna be gravel, correct.
Any other abutters or?
When I grew up, I had the same thing to say. Yeah, all the same issues.
And I mean, when we did the site walk, I think a lot of people had that same concern, people who showed up. I do think a fence with signage kind of establishes that they can't really be blocking that. It shows that that's not their property, and it will keep that open, or at least if it becomes a problem, it's pretty obvious. You know, the police can go down there and say, it's not yours.
One thing that may help for the people trespassing, like we've been talking about, maybe is to get Camp Lincoln involved in it to see if they want to put no trespassing signs at the end of it.
I mean, Camp Lincoln was,
Private property.
It is right straight in, right? That's Camp Lincoln there, right? Yes.
when we met with the Camp Lincoln guys, they liked the fact that people hiked out there. And
Oh, okay.
so they had no issue with it, because I think
Okay.
that was one of the, it's like, if they don't want people going in there, it's problem solved, but they had no problem with it, so.
So I guess don't be surprised when you find 3 cars parking in the parking lot there, and they're all hikers.
And they're all total.
We'll have to put some very large signs there then. But the other thing I just want to point out too,
People come parking down there at night.
They usually walk.
It's just a
They walk.
neighborhood, you know, the parks. They're walking, riding their bikes. I don't think we can, that issue.
and the other thing I wanted to point out too with this driveway, you can see from the topography on here, there's not a lot of site work to put this driveway in. We're not doing a lot of cuts and fills to create this. It basically follows the current lay of the land. So it's not like I said, you know, you're not going to see a big machine in there pushing earth around and changing the landscape at all. We can pretty much lay it out as the land naturally exists.
I would just say, I mean, I think you did the best you could to utilize your land without infiltrating the neighborhood or affecting the water table and everything else. My only thing I would like to see is that no occupancy permit would be issued until there's a defined fence up. I don't care what it is, but just so there is a fence so that, like I said, down the road, it doesn't become a catch-all for whoever lives there's trailer, snow blower, shed, and everything else. So I'd want it defined before the occupancy permit was issued.
That's fine.
And I think the other verbiage would be, you know, it needs to be passable for a town vehicle to get through it at any time. You know, the snow removal would be the responsibility of the homeowner, but we need to be, if it's a bad year and we got a wad of snow up there, then that needs to be kept open, I think would be the other thing.
Can we put this on the deed, that this is the town right away, just so the buyer will have no doubt that in the future that they don't own that property?
Put it right on the plan.
Put it right on the deed.
And the house plan, right? The drawings and the planning board.
An addendum to the deed. Just because too many people buy things not knowing what they're buying. You know, they'll go in there and assume that they own from this lot to this lot, and they don't. They're missing a section.
Even when they know that they're buying, they assume it's their land from this place to that place.
Right, right.
I mean, it goes both ways, Rich.
What do you got, Rich?
So that's a pretty good idea. It could be added to Charlie's plan, that it is town right away. The only thing I disagree with was the description of the land. If you look at your tax map, it clearly shows it is part of Great Pond Road. It was never built, and the only maintenance we've ever done is plow snow on it. That doesn't meet the description of a paper road. It's more Class 6, not maintained. And the reason why I told these guys they had to come in and talk to you tonight, this board needs to make a motion to allow them to upgrade. You just can't go in and upgrade a town road. You've got to get, the Board of Selectmen need to make that motion, and it needs to pass. You can put whatever parameters you want on it. I think it's a good idea to put up a post and, some sort of fence that delineates the town property. Maybe a few signs. I don't think the signs are necessary, but doesn't hurt. But that's one thing that has to happen here tonight for them to move forward. Otherwise, they won't get a driveway permit from me to move forward. So you guys, you folks need to make that motion to allow them to improve, and I would call it a Class 6 road, that 30 by 80 foot strip of land. And, it's going to be incumbent on whoever's running this town for the next 100 years to make sure that that right-of-way is not encroached on. But that's all part of our job anyways. It happens every year. We have different problems in different areas. So, thank you.
Okay. So essentially, we'll need a motion allowing for a well line to cross our right-of-way and an upgrade to that. And in exchange, it will be, a fence will be put up and,
Delineated on any deed.
yeah.
And site plan.
So moved.
Get a motion?
It was.
No, I got a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Further discussion?
So we're gonna call it out as a Class 6 on the deed.
Right, as Rich said, it was a Class 6, 30 by 80 road, town paper road.
That he's upgrading
To a Class 6.
to a
He's
Class
upgrading it
6.
to a Class.
Okay, thank you. And then it'd be posted with a fence accordingly.
Both sides.
Yeah.
Before I vote, I would ask, are you amenable to that?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, okay.
So, what is our insurance that this will be put on the deed?
Well, I'm going to add the conditions to the plan, this plan. Submit this as part of the building application. Okay, so it'll all be on the one plan and enforceable by your code enforcement. And then I could prepare a sample deed and submit it to this board prior to issuance of a building permit, if that works.
On the last sign or so, I can make sure it's done.
Okay, I have no problem.
Okay. Just want to make sure we have a process in place before we...
Well, we could also just withhold an occupancy permit until that's all done. To the last
We're gonna
sign.
do this the right way.
That just, it's better if everybody agrees going into it.
I hear ya.
Exactly.
So, all right, roll call vote?
Alessio?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Coombs?
Yes.
St. James?
Yes.
Wilson?
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
So, you need one of these down?
I don't need them if you'd like them, but I can gather them up if you want me to get rid of them.
Because I, yeah.
Okay, perfect then. All right, again, thank you.
In August, by the way, Charles.
Do that on your own time.
I know. That's right.
Meeting at 10.
Good, good.
Okay, next we have Rich. Is he here?
Here. You're up, Richard.
He's on Zoom.
He's on Zoom.
So he's doing a Zoom.
Not sure how well this is gonna work.
Is that speaker plug?
You need to unmute yourself.
Mr. Perrin, can I just ask you what the, I mean, I filled mine out, it was like 3 or 4 months ago. What do you have back right now for how many residents did do it? Estimate.
66%.
You guys have any other questions? No. Okay, well, I think we're all set.
Okay, next up we got Paul Butler, who I'm not seeing here.
Not here yet.
Okay.
Skip over.
Sure. Is Mr. Wilder here?
Apparently not.
No, he's right behind you.
John's right here.
Yep.
Yes.
I didn't see anybody over here.
Requesting permission to level site at 34 Route 125, map R2, lot 13.
Hi.
Right.
What can we do for you?
Well, I just wanted to ask the board if I could have permission to put some material on my site up on the hill there, which I got a cease and desist from you a few months ago to stop doing that because you didn't know what I was doing. So now that I've been in front of the planning board, the town pretty much knows what I'm doing up there. You know, the plans anyway. I haven't done anything on the site since you asked me to stop.
I think I served John last year with a cease and desist. That's the trucking up by the.
Is that Colonial across the street from Colonial? Okay.
So I can tell you, John, that I know Conservation's gonna come up and take a look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fine.
So I know you're gonna have some people coming up, taking a look around. He wants to put, I think, a garage to repair vehicles in there. Is that what you told me you wanted to do?
Yeah, once I get approved, yeah. But what I'm talking about doing is not even over the crest of the hill. It's between the hill and Comcast property. There's a big dip. I
Is
just
the
want to,
backside of the property,
front side,
front side?
How big of a dip?
well, about 10,000 yards worth.
Have you got an alteration of terrain permit from the DES?
We're doing that, we're in the process of doing that right now, but the guy that was in there before me, there's already that's already set up in there for that. There's a storm drain system already in place that goes the whole length of the front of the property.
But you don't have an AOT from the DES?
Not yet.
Yeah, I mean, we're not in the best of terms with DES right now to begin with. But if we granted anything without that, it would be big trouble for us as well. It's usually just a formality with them, but once you get that, you know, but that'll probably coincide with you being done with the planning board at that point.
Probably. I just wanted to get a jump start on it because on the Comcast property, I have to hammer out a bunch of ledge, and then I'm not gonna be able to get by to bring the material up, and everything's gonna happen all this fall. And I'm just trying to save a little time.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, and I don't know, Rich, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't have the right to supersede the DES on any of that.
I agree. Oh, that Rich?
Either one. Should sit on different sides.
Yes, what were you gonna say? No, we can't. The other things with the planning board, there was a proposal brought in, but then everything changed, so it's basically starting all over. Because you advertised it as condos and you didn't bring it in as condos. Also, we were waiting for a letter from Comcast saying that you have permission to use the driveway and all that kind of stuff, which hadn't been turned in yet either, as far as that.
I wasn't aware you were waiting for that letter. I can get that pretty much almost any time.
Okay, but I mean, before anything happens, I think we need that to know that he has the right to access through there right away.
John, how will the widening of Route 125 affect that piece of property?
It shouldn't affect it at all,
Nothing.
as far as I know, no.
I think they're gonna widen it out through there. That's why they bought the house next door to you,
Right.
up on the hill. So I know they're gonna take some portion of Route 125 on that side of the road. Do you know how much?
Yeah, but that doesn't affect, we've been working with them, with DOT, for the driveway permit, and that's, they all mesh together, so it's gonna work.
But we still can't do anything until you have those things.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the planning board, the ball's in their court at this time until, if there was some extenuating circumstance that,
Well, they didn't wanna say yes because this board shut me down, so
Yeah.
I just passed it here.
So, back a year ago, the board requested that I serve a cease and desist to John. And I did, and he stopped work like we asked him to do. So, technically, the cease and desist is still in place until, correct me if I'm mistaken, but until approval from the planning board, is that not correct?
yes. But,
So-
I mean, without, and I can't remember
Well, he was
the
hauling,
contents of it.
I think you were hauling off site, weren't you?
Well, we were taking some loom from out, we were taking loom out and bringing gravel in,
That's right, too.
just swapping out material.
So the board requested that I serve him with a cease and desist, so I served it to John. That was like last year.
About a year ago.
Yeah, I think the issue was it was in a commercial property and there was a commercial activity taking place there without any site plan.
Yes, that's correct.
The gist of it?
Yeah.
And so immediately then, it's,
I was just prepping the site and making it level.
no, and I mean, you stopped right away once we got
You
you the
did.
letter and we appreciate that. It just, the planning board is an independently elected body that we don't really have authority over. So even if we pulled the cease and desist now, it's still, you don't have a site plan or anything that's been approved by the town or so we can't give you the go-ahead until that takes place, especially on a commercial property. I wish I had a better answer for you.
Can the planning board still move forward and do what it needs to do to get him a site plan or help him get a site plan?
Yeah, I don't think there's
So the
anything.
cease and desist does not stop you from doing what you need to do to get your site approved?
Oh, no, no.
Okay, so,
No, I'm just trying to get a jump before, so I don't have to do everything in the fall, but
I don't think that's gonna work out for you.
probably not.
Have you been before the planning board already?
Oh, yeah.
How many
Yeah, we
times?
got some minutes in our
We're
packets
getting
there.
there. But,
The last one was July 7th.
Like I say, the process started over at the last meeting because he changed everything to condos, so there was a lot more information that had to be provided. And there were a lot of issues. I mean, I think Dennis's list at 20-something items and Glenn's was about the same.
yeah, I mean, we've already submitted the condo,
Okay, but we haven't had a meeting on it yet.
right, that's,
So do you have a date coming up or?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we can't do anything until that takes place.
Okay. Well, I had a feeling that was gonna happen, but I thought I'd ask anyway.
You can always say no, right?
And introduce myself, seeing I haven't met the board, so,
Nice to meet you.
yeah, okay, I guess.
Only one of us,
We'll
John.
see you soon, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. All right,
Sorry.
all right, I tried. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Goodbye.
Okay, Paul's still not here.
No, I think I
keep going.
overestimated how long it would take, so let's continue on, I guess.
Next Next, we have road agent Rich St. Hilaire on filtration and UV lighting for heating systems and policy change suggestion.
Good evening, folks. I'm going to ask for Mr. Wilson's help because he's done most of the work on this, and he's the HVAC expert. I'm not. He and I talked about 14 filters in all the town buildings that have forced hot air or air conditioning systems.
Well, there's hot air in all these buildings.
A lot of hot air in town buildings.
Some more than others.
So we're talking the police station, we're talking the town hall, we're talking the new library,
14 units.
the old library. Yeah, for this building alone, there's five units. They're about $300 a piece, 3 to 5.
The lights, I checked today, since this was on there, lights, depending on the vendor, or depending on the company, what they buy at, sell between $425 and $500.
All right, $500.
I've asked 4 companies for bids, 2 outright refused, said it's just too busy this time of year to do anything. Rick at Dowling got me a price for the library, and then Mass Mechanical says he sent me one that I never got that he was supposed to resend today and he hadn't, so. He's the guy that did the police station.
So,
I don't know if you want to know what kind of money we're talking before I get bids publicly.
well, just round numbers, because I want to know if we want to go forward with it.
One bid that we had was roughly $1,000 a light installed without any electrical work.
So,
And that was for just the lights.
yep, so there's,
For 13 filters, he was, I think he was Adam's got my phone number, I think he was $580 to provide them for the library. Is that right? $580?
Merv,
And I think you've already told him to go ahead with that?
Yeah, I think it's 588 to be precise. Yes, I told him to go ahead and do the
So he's already got to go ahead on the filters at the library.
right, yes.
And if you want to separate the library and have him go on with the lights, we can do that because they're not, he didn't give us a break at all based on 14 units.
Right.
So is this the kind of thing that's covered under the COVID reimbursement stuff?
I'm not sure if it is or not, to be honest with you. I've not made those phone calls. I will be, but again, we're talking a lot of money. So between the 2 units, we're talking probably $2,000 a piece. 1,500, $2,000 times 14.
28,000.
Yep.
And what's the lifespan on a light like that? The bulb?
It's a UV light that kills bacteria, kills virus. I mean, it's what everybody's doing. In fact, I was told by the supply house that even if we award this bid, that it may take them 3 to 4 months to do the lights because they're back ordered so many, because everybody's putting them in.
Right.
No, but I mean, like, how long do they last once we
Oh, the
install them?
bulbs, the lights last, the setup lasts basically forever, but the bulbs are good for a year. Now,
At 500?
no, the bulbs, I'm gonna guess about $100 to replace the bulb. But in a place like this, where the air conditioners run half the year, you get 2 years out of it. Where the furnaces run half the year, you get 2 years out of it. Police station, library, you're gonna get a year out of it. Now, what I said to Rich, I don't know if these do, but most of the lights give you a running time, so you can get an idea of how much use they've had. And in a situation like the library, you may have 5 units that run all the time and 2 that hardly ever run. So you may not need those lights in those areas. You know, you can determine how much use the unit's getting, you know, and based on, you know, like this building's, the basement's gonna need more than the upstairs because of the confinement. And there's cheaper lights, don't get me wrong, but these are the ones people are recommending for this.
So how will we know whether it falls under the COVID allocation? How will we know if we're gonna get reimbursed?
Probably through Paul. I think Paul could tell us, Rick.
these to town halls everywhere, and I don't think they'd all be doing it if they weren't getting reimbursed.
And if the filtration's that strong to purify the air, it makes sense that it would.
And just one other point, and I don't know how busy Rich's guys are, but there's not a lot to installing these lights, especially if you're not doing the electrical. I mean, they basically drill a hole in the ductwork, put it in, screw it in, and you plug it in. You know, so they're charging an awful lot of money because of the time of year to do this, because they're gonna be pulling away from jobs that they make a lot of money on. You know, I'm guessing somebody without much experience could do all 14 of them in 2 or 3 days. You know,
So that's all it is, a light bulb within the plenum? There's no special setup or anything like
well,
that?
there's a big modular and stuff. It has to go in the right place. That's pretty important. But it's a simple UV light that kills.
It's not the return of the
supply.
supply?
And it, I mean, it needs warning labels because if you can't open it and look at it because you'll end up with a severe sunburn. I mean, like in 10 minutes, he'll send you in the emergency room. You know, they're
So
serious lights.
they have to be put in the right spot so that you don't have any flash over, any accidents.
Right, because some of the drain pans and units can't handle the UV rays, they melt the drain pans, you know, so the company that does it is also taking that liability that the light causes damage, so then they're gonna have to repair the unit.
So I guess the big question is whether we have to open our wallet or someone else does.
If we have to open our wall, I don't see us having money. I mean,
I think
Open the windows.
I think Paul Hatch could probably tell us that, right?
Well, we'd have to decide which, like the $147,000 program that was, I forget the name, the Gopher Fund. I don't think that would cover, like, I don't think it's going to cover the flooring downstairs. We're going to have to try and take that out of another program. There's so many programs that got flushed through the system in the last 10 or 12 weeks. We'll know whether that gets approved or not. I got a feeling it's going to get kicked back. But anyways. So that's kind of where we are. I just wanted to go over it. We're talking some serious money. If it's not recoverable through FEMA or through one of these programs, it's something we want to move forward with anyways. Depends on how much energy I'm going to put into it, to be honest with you.
And the town of Kingston has got an accountant to check to make sure there's still an account with the supply house, and there is, where these lights are coming from.
Okay?
So that's an option too, is to buy them.
Just buy them outright, install them.
You know, and I can give some guidelines on that, if that's the way we go. But, I mean, if we can get them out of the funding, then I'd say let's hire somebody to do it. If we can't, then we go the other way.
The other thing is it's a timing issue because sooner or later this state of emergency is going to end, and once it ends, there won't be any additional funds. You know, the gravy train stops.
Yeah, I think given our budgetary constraints, personally, I can't see supporting that unless someone else is paying for it.
No matter what you do, you got to pay for it first,
Well, right.
and hope you get reimbursed.
Well, can we find out if it's covered first before we take action on it, Rich?
Yep. I'll have an answer for you before you meet again.
Thank you.
I mean, the other thing that I could possibly do is talk to the supply house and tell them to get, well, I guess we can't do that if we don't know we're gonna get the funding. I could tell them to get 14 on the way for us, so whoever gets it, those lights are ordered. Because they were talking like, you know,
They're not gonna be around for much longer.
you know, maybe months before you get them. I can check, I'm actually going to the supply house tomorrow, so I'll see if that lead time's any better.
Okay.
It's probably a smart thing to do, but I'm not sure I want to spend $28,000 in lights right now, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't look bad, but there might be other things.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's see if we're gonna get reimbursed, and I think that would be the best way to go. If not, fine, then that's a different decision to make.
And if it's done in non-peak time, we can probably get a better price, but there again, if funding's gonna go away, then we may end up paying for them.
Either way.
So then it costs us more money. I mean, if we're getting them done for half the price, but we're paying it directly and not getting a reimbursement, then it's costing us more money. I know, sad way of looking at it, but
Find out how, I would still like to know if it's gonna be covered, and if so, what percentage, and then we make a decision. Do we have impact fees for the town that we could use in something like this?
I think,
Impact fees, did you say?
Yes. This would not fall in that category?
Impact fees only go to the fire department, the library, and the school.
Okay, thank you.
Those are the only three departments,
Okay, entities that get it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
and the library pull their funding from the impact fees for these.
So could the police and
Picture
fire
expensive
department?
fees.
The police, I don't believe the police department, any of the impact. Fire department, library, school.
Yep.
Highway.
Highway doesn't get a dime.
So the fire department would be the only other entity that
Yep.
could qualify to.
And we never have.
I thought the highway did.
Next item, near and dear to my heart, just so folks out in the audience understand, this, what I'm gonna bring up doesn't affect me, but it has affected some of the for the town of Kingston. Obviously, employees who've had to work till the day they died, because the day they go out, right now we have short-term and long-term disability, which we fought for after Scott McClellan passed away, because we didn't even have that for him, and he struggled the last 6 months of his life. And again, I apologize for mentioning his name. I shouldn't mention names here. But anyways, a firefighter that passed from cancer. We didn't have short and long-term disability. He struggled with treatments. He struggled with... There were folks before him. There was 3 folks that worked out of this building that ended up with cancer, and because the day they go out on disability, they lose their health insurance. The town of Kingston's policy is we don't pay your health insurance the day that you're not useful to us, basically. I think that's wrong. I think you ought to look at that. I can tell you, it doesn't affect me. I'm all set because I've worked here for 35 years. I've got all kinds of sick time built up, vacation time built up. And Cindy from payroll basically will use, it's basically 16 hours of sick time a week to pay for all those things. And my salary, it's almost $700 a week that I would have to write a check for to continue my benefits, $2,800 a month. If you ever, and you could make a policy that if someone works here for 5 years, 10 years, whatever, that if they go out, something like what I've got, cancer and, can't work anymore or shouldn't be. I've seen the ladies downstairs struggling to get up from the desk to get to the bathroom, but they've got to be here because they've got to get the paycheck so that they can have insurance to pay for their cancer treatments or whatever the problem was. I can tell you, I think that's wrong. I thought it was wrong with, I've seen them all. So I think you ought to look at it and come up with policy. Because there's going to be more of us. There's going to be people after me. Cancer's not going away. And it doesn't have to be cancer. Someone could get in a car accident and break their neck. And the day they stop working for the town of Kingston, they're on their own. And I don't necessarily think that's right, but that's a decision you guys need to make. So, that's it in a nutshell. Again, I apologize for using someone's name here. I shouldn't have. The other thing, I think we now have our third firefighter with pancreatic cancer. Something to think about.
Thank you, Rich.
Yep. Guys, got anything else you want me to hang around for?
If you wouldn't mind hanging around for old business, these gentlemen right here. Hate to waste your time.
Here's Paul.
Mr. Butler, waiting on you.
We're waiting for you.
Oh, okay. Sorry, am I late?
No.
We're
I need my mask.
Good about it.
Okay. So I had three things I wanted to talk to you guys about. The first was I've been in contact with a gentleman who does pickleball, and I think it's a sport that seems to cross a lot of ages. I checked with Hampton Rec, and they had him, and they were impressed with the clinic that he did. So I put out some feelers to see if there'd be enough interest to get that going. We'd start at the rec center and turn the basketball court into one pickleball court, and then if it catches on fire, which this guy says it does, and it does seem to be pretty popular around places around the country, then we'd look at using other courts, potentially maybe the high school or maybe the court in front of Swayze. But first we need to get interest and see if people want to do that. But I talked to Richard about that and mentioned, so I just put out some feelers and just want to make sure that's okay to do. It would be social distancing. The guy does all the sanitizing, and he does a smaller group, and he's a professional. He's got places in 4 different states. So it's not a run of the, just a run fly-by-night organization.
You had community members ask about it?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was just some old people did in Florida. That's where I heard about it.
It is definitely very popular in Florida. Yes, it's a slower-paced game, so it's easier for people to do. But this guy is, he's probably in his 50s, and he's apparently the 3-time United States champ of pickleball. So it's a little bit more. It sounds like what I can see from Hampton Rec, it looked like it was an older group, but not a really older group, maybe 40s to on up. So I just continue to look for things for people to do. And this,
Give you an A+ for creativity.
yeah, well, we'll see what happens. And then I'd also talked to Richard, and we put out, our committee worked together and came up with an idea for a family fun day at the rec center, which would not be a drop-off event. It would be families coming together, staying together, supervising their kids, and using different parts of the rec. No swimming or boating, but the playground, the beach area, the hardtop area, and the new field. So we would have walkie-talkies and kind of rotate them around. They'd have sanitizer when they come to a new place. They'd have to bring their own masks. We'd review all the expectations in terms of social distancing and things like that. Unfortunately, I've not got much feedback back. I've only had a couple people interested, and I don't know. Like I said, we just continue to try to find something that people might want to go, and my thought is that people are just nervous and don't want to take the chance of going out, I guess. But does that sound okay to, we had mentioned last time I met that an activity like that would be okay, but.
And what's that, just the cost of snacks or whatever and sanitizer?
Yeah, I mean, and even snacks, when you really get into it, you'd have to be like portion size and give out. We thought about maybe giving out like a bag, with maybe some chips in it, maybe something. And of course, it depends on the weather, because we don't want to be inside the rec center. So if the weather is not good, then it would be canceled. So, but the potential is August 1st. But again, I keep advertising, keep asking people. I put it up on the board. I talked to the person at Hampton Rec about some ideas, and she said that putting the board out on Main Street like we have attracted some people, and it did. We got a few, but we'll just keep trying. So
Could I ask why you're not doing any swimming or boating?
Well, when we started talking about the boating, I talked to Phil about that. We got kind of nervous because you get, well, what happens if somebody gets in distress out there? What if they decide not to wear their life jacket? Are we going to send somebody out there to supervise and to be there in case of emergency? And I think possibly for the next one, if we had do one and do another one, but we thought for the first one we would just, and I don't have lifeguards. None of my, so I didn't want to do that either. But it would be nice if it was a nice day to get out for sure, or get in the water. You okay with that? And the last thing is I've been working with the library to outdoor movie. Did they come here to get that, or did they do that separately?
They do that separately.
Okay. Well, they had to move. I guess they didn't get a lot of people, but there's an organization that is willing to give us, it's called Mega Movies USA. They're willing to give us the setup of stuff for free, and then we'd have to pay for the license depending on the movie. It'd be $250 up, depending how good or how popular the movie is. And we also thought we'd want to give him some money because he's already done this once for us or for the town. But we thought maybe on the planes, if we can get enough people park, they can park and they can listen to the movie on their radio, so they don't need to get out of the car. And it's like old-fashioned drive-in movies. And we'd spread them out anyways. I think we'd spread them out so if they wanted to sit outside or on a blanket or something, they could do that. But it's a big old screen. And it's Mondays. He's got Mondays through the end of August open as of last time we talked to him.
So they would park their car on the planes?
Yeah.
We're trying to avoid that.
Okay. I mean, I figured like with, Kingston Days does that and other things do that, so.
No, that's a later conversation, is parking on the planes.
It's a what?
That's one of the later conversations, is
Oh, okay.
parking on the planes.
I mean, we could.
Well, you need stickers now.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that on Facebook, yeah. And we could also see about the school. The other thought I had was doing it at the high school, because they have a big enough parking lot, I think. I could ask them if that would be preferable.
I mean, I don't know, Rich, what are your thoughts on that?
As far as the parking, if the town function and it's permitted, we're talking once or twice maybe a season, it's a heck of a lot less than if we had Kingston Days, that's for sure.
Yeah, they didn't get a big turnout for the first one, and I don't know if we'd do any better, but.
I mean, the one at the library, it was not a good turnout, no.
No, they did it in the parking lot next to them.
Yeah.
And I didn't get a number, but I don't think they had a lot. So.
Okay, we had the event was pretty successful at the library, and Karen Bletzer let us use their parking lot. So we had 9 cars attend. It just wasn't a popular movie.
Right.
We could have accommodated, I don't know, to go with the parking lot, probably 20, 25 cars. Yeah, so that might be another option if the others don't work out. But it was a very popular event, I'd say.
A popular what?
Popular event.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's an optional.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Exeter Rec is doing it as well.
Yes. Yep.
I actually didn't sign up for one.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and we'd want
We
to.
should try it. I think it's not a bad idea, like a drive-in movie. Most people don't even know what drive-in movies are.
I don't see a problem. I think, it's got to be minimum cars on the planes. Just try and see. It might attract people when they see the inflatable screen or whatever to say, oh, what's going on?
Yeah, we'd want people to register if we could, just so we can, I like the idea of talking to them and saying, just be aware of the rules and make sure we go over that with them beforehand. But yeah, people might just drive up too, I suppose.
I think Exeter posted the dates and the movies and those specific dates, and you had to pay for it. It wasn't for free either.
Right.
Like
In Exeter?
I think it was like $7 a car.
Okay.
It was something normal. It wasn't
Right.
very expensive or anything.
Well, we're getting it donated. We wanted to give them some money, and I have $100 in my budget, and I think the library has some money in their budget. We're going to see about local businesses throwing in $25 and or $50 or something. And we could, before the movie, we could put up their advertisement for their business saying these are our sponsors.
I tried a couple times to see if it worked. If not,
Yeah, I mean, I think, excuse me, I think if, you know, even, excuse me, you don't need a lot of people to make it a good event. I mean, it's usually the first time around we've done things, it's a small number of people, but it goes well. And then the next time you get a little more and more as it becomes kind of ingrained and part of what people expect is going to go on, so.
Okay. Any issue with that?
I don't have a problem with any of it. I don't know.
no, me neither. I thought it was good. Worth a try.
Yeah, I mean, it just, you know,
The only thing that, a little bit of the family fun day is that social distance is going to be critical.
right. I mean, right now we don't, I'm not sure we even have enough people to do it, but it might be that often people don't, they think it's in August, oh, that's far away. But it's actually a week from Saturday, so if we don't get enough people within, but, you know, I think if 4 or 5 families came and they had a great time, then that's successful. So we're only doing a couple hours. We're trying to limit the bathroom, limit all those things so that we're limiting some of the precautions you have to take, so. All right? Okay, thanks. Have a great night.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, next up, we have a public hearing regarding revising and adopting the resident parking policy.
Do you need a motion for that? Okay.
I believe I do.
I move that we adopt the Town of Kingston resident parking policy, now dated today's 19th, 2020. You should take
Second.
some of these, just so you know when they go into effect.
So, we've got a motion and a second, just for discussion purposes for the viewing public. The reason the resident parking policy is put into place is because we've had a massive influx of people parking in areas that were kind of set aside for residents in theory, but they have since been expanded on the plains. It's getting ridiculous. It's just flowing out. There's a lot of trash issues, and there's been numerous requests for us to do something about it. So this will affect that. There's a sticker policy that these stickers are now for sale at the town clerk's office and the police department.
Yes.
They're $2.
Which is our cost, correct?
Yeah, and that is just the cost for the sticker, but that gives any Kingston resident can buy that, display it prominently on their car, and they can park there. I understand that there are people from other towns who don't like that. Sorry.
Too bad.
We have to do something so that the places we have for town residents don't get destroyed, and then we have to not have them, period. So this is an attempt to kind of alleviate that.
We did get several emails today, and I had some phone conversations with people that like to park in that small area across from the state park. They go there early, like 6 a.m. They're distance swimmers. They go into the state park before it's open. They swim across the lake and back, and they leave. So they were concerned about where they could park. I guess they called the police station this weekend and were told they could park on the street. But there was some confusion if it's posted just in that area or also on the plains for parking.
Well, just that one area.
Just that one area.
Yeah, I would make a recommendation that the language on this doesn't really fit. And this should be incorporated with our parking regulations, Article 1005.
And what does that say? What does that say?
So, I'm talking about this in general. So it says that the following shall be marked for signage, which is great. Those are the areas we mark. And it goes on to say that residents may purchase a parking sticker. That's good. And it doesn't say, it just says vehicles without resident parking stickers, but it doesn't give a restricted area not to park. So if you look at the parking regulations in Article 1005, I would recommend that we carry this over until next Monday.
Just another question, what are we gonna do about the fact that now they're spreading down?
Well, there was 3 specific areas that we spoke about that we had a lot of complaints on. Over to,
No, I realize that, I'm talking about now that they can't park in that area across from State Park, they're starting to line up down Main Street.
they can legally. If it gets too bad, then, and that's one thing I just looked at on the parking regulations. It specifically says on the side of roads. So it says road or highway, crosswalks, fire lanes, intersections, right-of-ways, private driveways, roadways, portion of street designed for ordinary use for vehicles, and it goes on. So if you follow the Article 1005 parking regulations, this should be compliance with that full regulation. So this is kind of vague, like you can't park where the signage is.
Oh, I thought the idea was exactly that.
Yeah.
Okay? We are designating an area for the residents to be able to park.
So does it say it will be unlawful for parking in the following locations?
The non-residents.
But it doesn't say, you see what I'm saying? If you read that, read the thing. It shall be unlawful for the following areas to park in the following areas. But it
You know,
doesn't.
one of the other problems was that all the trash from out of towners.
Oh, I agree, it's the right thing to do, to mark it and post it, but I'm not so sure about enforcement. I'm reading this.
So you want to table the motion, you come back, are you amenable to tabling the motion?
Not really, but
Well, that's
I
okay.
guess I'll go along with it.
It's just,
A team play.
it's gonna be a problem for him, it may be a problem.
All right, chief.
I would rather wait and have it enforceable than spin our wheels here.
And then I would just amend Article 1005 under the parking regulations, because then everything's in there for where you can't.
So why don't we
If
have,
I put it on the agenda for next month, you come up with the language. when
Sure,
you're
I'd be
done.
more than happy.
and in this way, it at least gives another hearing where people are hearing what
Yeah.
we're doing. So the voters at home, I mean, the residents at home hear what we're doing.
Yep.
Tickets are already being written, so we're gonna continue to do that.
We'll make-
Yes.
Okay.
With regards to the people who swim there, I mean, there is public parking down at the old state highway area. That's a public parking area for the boat launch. So they still have water access. They can go down there and park.
Well, apparently they can park on the side of the road too.
Yeah. they can
Right,
do
right
that
in
as
front
well.
of the state park.
Yeah.
If they're that early in the morning, they're not gonna.
They just can't park on the planes.
They're gonna be in and out of there for the hour or two that they're out there swimming.
Yeah. One of the concerns they expressed was that, well, if they're posting here, are they gonna post further down to our?
Not yet, tell them.
Maybe.
As long as they pick up their trash, we won't.
I think they're the least of your concerns.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sure you're right, absolutely correct, they're the least of our.
I understand it impacts them, but at the end of the day, you know, the state park is something that we have in town, and we want to make a convenient parking area for the residents of this town. It's not a courtesy that we're extending across the board to everybody. It's a courtesy we're trying to get to the residents of Kingston. So, any further discussion on that?
Would you want to consider a time frame, or is that too fussy?
No, I don't go there. Yeah, the motion to table technically is even debatable, so we either get a motion to table or not. That's what we do.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Chief,
We have a motion to table. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So let's do a roll
You
call.
might want to raise that,
Alessio?
Yeah.
no.
25, 50,
Briggs?
whatever.
Yes.
Coombs?
Yes.
St. James?
Why, yes, thank you.
And Wilson? 2 noes, 3 yes.
It still passes, motion to table.
Yeah.
So they need to bring it up, let's see if that happens.
Any posted area.
We'll just reference that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
All right, moving along. We have a public hearing regarding the adoption of the updated welfare guidelines. Everybody got copies of these last week, and we spoke with the,
Yep.
yes. It's not the welfare office, the,
Yes,
is that her?
Health and Human Services.
Health and Human Services representative for the town, Ms. Faulkner.
She's on Zoom in case you have any questions.
Okay, I don't think did anyone have any questions?
No, I thought it was pretty well put
It was
together.
all
Very well.
pretty well
Yeah.
covered, very well put together.
Mrs. Faulkner did a very good job.
Absolutely.
Usual.
Any public comment? Okay,
Motion to approve.
Second.
okay, we got a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Alessio?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Coombs?
Yes.
St. James?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now open for public comment.
Yeah.
Do you have some? Going to need to sign the documents in your signature folder.
The original document.
Okay, we'll find it
Had a
out.
little trouble with your sound, that's it, just sign the document. A little trouble with your sound, that's it, just sign.
I didn't hear a word you said.
Me neither.
What can we do for you, gentlemen? And if you could just identify yourselves.
Martin Georgie, 36th Street, and we're talking about some trees on some town property.
And the other two gentlemen are,
I'm Derek Vader, 44 Great Pond Road, regarding the property behind my house.
And Matthew Steino, 36 Great Pond Road. I'm directly next to Derek.
Maybe you want to start with yours?
So you guys have been out there looking at the trees, and I guess it's just continuing a conversation about getting the trees removed, and just want to see where you're at with that.
The particular lot you're talking about is the town-owned piece?
Yes, sir. There's actually like 5 lots there adjacent to the properties that you guys have.
So I was tasked at the last meeting to go out there with Dennis Quinton. The trees are definitely on our property. They are nuisance trees, they do need to come down. And without getting an estimate, I believe we're over $10,000 to take them down. We looked at the property in question, and at this time, it doesn't seem to serve any purpose for the town to own the land. And I believe they're here to talk about if the town was amenable to splitting the piece so each side gets a little bigger lot, they would take care of the trees themselves at no cost. But then we did see in 2003, there's a town vote, we have no authority to do that, but I guess we could put it on the ballot. So then we started looking at some other properties while we were there. The property across the street, we wouldn't want to get rid of, and we could possibly put a culvert in on the road and shoot the water across back into there. So the other question that Rich St. Hilaire had was if something happened someday where we had to put in a community septic system, you know, that would be one of the points because it is a low point. But we would be talking in the millions of dollars to do something like that, and we'd have to look at federal dollars or something.
I'd like to speak to that as well. I don't know if I would want a community septic system next to my house either.
You wouldn't have much to say.
No kidding. There's like
so.
Because I don't think anybody would want that next to their house, but.
I agree. So
Pond is gonna be one big septic system going around it. You're not gonna have a choice. That's not the issue. The issue are the trees.
So the next question was, if we were gonna do something like that, it would definitely take federal involvement. And if we own all these land, I don't know how much help we're gonna get. But if we didn't own the land, then we would probably be in a better position for federal dollars because we'd have to take some land by eminent domain, paying fair market value to people, such as that area maybe buying out those houses or something. The only other thing that came out of the conversation, we went up to another piece of land where was recently cleared because of someone foresting.
Illegally?
No.
They're carried away.
In the bathroom.
They're very carried away.
All right, so.
House.
Sweet.
Yeah. And that was gone. Like, you won't file a claim for the insurance. I'm stuck on the hook. I had to pay for it. And it was banished.
So I did speak to the forester, the ranger.
Okay, let's get.
So, as far as these trees in question, I think it's the intent of the road agent and me looking at it, we could all go out and look at it. The better avenue would be to split that up between the two, maybe put it on the town ballot next year to allow it to happen if that's the thing. The other thing is, because Rich's board is looking for more stuff to do, he almost threw me out of his truck when I suggested that maybe him and Dennis Quintel look at all the property in that area to see what has a benefit to the town to keep and what doesn't.
You know,
Rather than doing a full-out survey, but I mean, right where these gentlemen are, across the street is one we definitely want to keep. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. We'd want to keep that. But some of the others, where the forestation happened, that would be something that would probably be worthwhile to get rid of. It's not doing us anything. It's up high.
we got so many things on our plate. You wanna worry about lots in Gray Pond?
Well, we're dealing with this one right now because of the trees.
No, we're not. Now, when you're talking about you doing the survey of the whole Gray Pond area.
Well, I think his point is, if we're gonna put it on the ballot, why not
Oh, I see.
figure out
I see.
everything and then we only do it once?
But I think it's something that we wouldn't have to get too involved with just Dennis and Rich going through, looking at it, saying, this definitely serves us no purpose.
Awful free with your time, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he said a few words, but. Without any cost of taking them down, it's gonna be at least $10,000.
So what?
You want $80 a week?
May I just add to that as well, to what Kevin said? There are several pieces of property up there throughout the neighborhood, as you suggested. A lot of them are either acquired by the town because somebody didn't pay their taxes or because they thought that they might have use from down the road, so they picked them up when they had the opportunity, and they're just sitting there unused. By the town looking at the possibility of moving them into private ownership, it increases the tax revenue for the town because it now becomes land that's taxed. But there are also, in addition to those lots that you can clearly see on the tax map that are just shaded, and you can see that that one's the town-owned piece, there are many, many paper roads down there that serve no purpose that can't be built. One, for instance, that I'm directly involved with is the one that sits between Derek and I. It serves no purpose. It only abuts mine and his land, and we each have frontage on the major road, so it would never get built because it serves no purpose. In addition, it's 20 feet in the air. You'd have to create a major cut through there in order to develop that road. It's just not practical. So there's an opportunity if the town wanted to look into that. Some of those paper roads that serve no purpose could potentially be taxable land that could be then deeded to the adjacent properties as well. That might be more of a challenge because I'm sure there is legal rights to that land for people to pass and repass, and you'd have to extinguish those rights before you can do that. But something to consider if you're gonna go through those steps, that it may provide for getting additional taxable land that you could then turn over to residents. The lot that I'm talking about, or the road that I'm talking about between mine and Derek's, would add no benefit to my parcel at all as far as making anything buildable or anything like that. It would just essentially make me responsible and taxable for land that my kids already play on.
The same thing on the other side. I mean, we look at the other side with all the ledge and everything, there's absolutely no way that it would ever,
Yeah. And the only other thing is, there's no one here in this room that lifetime we would be looking at doing some sort of communal septic system over there. You know?
Well, I know I made a joke about it, but I thought that was one of the reasons why we held on to some of these smaller pieces of land, because I've seen it happen many times with septic failure. I've been on the zoning board a number of years. So we used to get a lot of failed septic system issues on those small lots throughout the entire Great Pond area. So it's my understanding that the reason we hold on to some of these smaller lands, and you're right, it makes more sense to have it attached to your property, you have a bigger yard and so forth and so on. But if we really needed the land to put in a failed system, even if it was your house that failed and you might need that bigger leach, I don't know. I'm not an engineer.
I know like my house kind of overlooks like the lower part where he lives.
Yeah.
So I know my,
So you're
every
right down
question
there.
with that septic area, and I gotta stay.
Or a bigger leach field.
Well, that's true. I mean,
Let me
yes.
ask you, so can that, if that has to be voted on by the town, can that be introduced by petition warrant article?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, it can.
Absolutely.
So theoretically, you could go around, get 45 signatures. Or
No, 26.
26, whatever. And
Get more.
put that on the ballot as well.
In other words, ask to purchase that land, ask the town, Kingston, if you could purchase that lot or that 2 lots to attach it to yours.
Well, the only reason I bring that up is because, you know, there's one spot there that is low that we would have to hang on to.
Yep.
And then there's potentially other ones that are in there that we would have to hang on to. And just giving you a brief window on how things work around here, it's just gonna take probably way past March when we get done with all the analysis of the little pieces that we need to save and whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm being honest.
Trees, wait that long. The other thing is, they were going to take down trees on their own as compensation, more or less, for it, you know? They've been parking their stuff there for a few years, but...
Oh, is that the one with the pictures of all the toys?
Yeah. It's what, you know...
Will that new bucket try to reach?
No, it was gonna have to.
No, can't, because they're tall trees, it has to be green.
And then we'd have to be in other people's yard, so.
It's tightly packed.
But I mean, our hands are tied as far as unloading the property at this time.
But, I don't know, is that something they can waive on the trees? I mean, it's gonna have to, or we'd have to spend it to take it down?
There's nothing new with those trees, they've been like that for years.
Yeah, and then tomorrow one could fall.
One control tomorrow.
Yeah, I think they get worse every day, but I live next door to them, I look at them, I think maybe I should park my truck over that way a little more.
And are they pine? Yes, they're pine.
Pines, yeah.
No roots, no roots.
I mean, I guess I would be in favor of figuring the whole thing out and just setting the precedent moving forward. Any town land that we don't need, we need to get rid of. I don't think.
Well,
it
that would be
serves-
the warrant article, not necessarily a specific piece, but that it authorizes selectmen within certain areas of the community.
And maybe, and that's, you know, this case is proof why we need to have that authority to just, you know, if you guys are willing to take the trees down and it's something we don't have to mess with. That's why that guy got started, well, not started down there, he was already down there, but he offered to take a couple trees down for us. And we're like, ah, those are bad, yeah. You know, you guys know.
They were all gone.
The great forest.
Except the ones that.
Except for
He took one and put it through the side of my house and got scared and ran away. He didn't want to do it again.
He's got a big hole in his bathroom.
But I would say, can we,
I think we could wait on it. I just wanted to advise the board what I found.
Well, what do we need to do? I mean, do we need to get a project going or a group going to get some this done.
Yeah, well, I think it's more allocating the money to Dennis and getting Rich's schedule, you know,
And
get that going.
adding a selectman's pay scale to his wage.
Obviously, for the duration of the project.
I think for my neighbor and I, where those trees are, it doesn't matter either way, whether you guys take them down or, you know, allocate the land to us and then we're responsible for them. It doesn't benefit us any to own the land. I mean, we're using it. I keep a boat trailer on it. I mean,
One?
yeah, I have one boat trailer.
Well, there's 3 guys here, it's small, yeah.
But, so either way, I mean, if you guys are gonna take the trees down, great. If you're gonna sign it over to us and we take the trees down, then
I would say you should come back to this board in, you know, late December, very early January, so that we can see about it. At the very least, if we were gonna do something, or if you want to do a petition warrant article, and that's simple enough, 25 signatures, you know, but I would say it's a cutoff for that.
Well, it's sometime in this, it might be 1st of January, September, January.
Yeah, I would say.
You might want to come late November.
petition warrant article.
In November. Come
Yeah, I don't. Our ability to just, yep, here you go.
So I know we're talking about the tree, his property with the trees and stuff on it. Was this the same conversation with the property that's behind ours? Because we're across the street, we're not on the same road as them talking about those.
Put it on the ballot.
Get it on the ballot.
So ours is the high point, like it's nothing to do with any culvert or septic design that you.
So I think that's the other part of it is we'd want to look at all these pieces that we have down there and see what we absolutely have to hold on to. And then my feeling would be just offer it up to the residents. You know, everybody gets a chunk of it and we're out of the Great Pond Realty business.
Good to me.
Sounds good to me. If I could just add one more thing to it. So for the record, I'm a licensed septic designer. That's what I do for a living. I work for an engineering company. I do surveys, I do designs. I understand and I appreciate that you guys want to keep certain parcels for drainage purposes, to be able to put a culvert pipe in. I can almost guarantee you that the idea of a community septic system is dead on arrival down there, because I look at the size of septics that we design for single-family houses, and if you had to do something for a community down there, you don't own enough land. There isn't a single parcel down there large enough to do a community septic system.
I was thinking that too, it seems small.
Was it 160 houses down there?
Yeah, there's a lot of houses.
160 houses or something like that down there?
Oh, it's unbelievable, I mean,
I designed a system for
There's no
55 and
social
older development, and there was 40 houses in there, and it was the size of a football field. And then we're talking 3 times the number of people. So I've done large-scale stuff, 10,000 gallons a day. I've done small things for 300 gallons a day. There's just no parcel down the day.
Yeah, no, we understand. We're not going to do it with a 20 by 40, 20 by...
Larger area.
Yeah. Would have to happen.
So holding on to those pieces that are low, like you said, for drainage, makes total sense.
I think that's the main thing is it's more a drainage aspect than, you know, I mean, that's
We don't
why
even care about that. It's a little puddle there if it rains real bad, but other than that, the kids like to splash in it. It's great. None of us are complaining about the puddle.
you guys,
The town's gonna have Dennis Quintel take a look at it along with Rich, and then we'll come back late November and get an update.
We're going to see about doing it sometime.
Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't
and
hurt to
right? I mean, that way we can actually get a report generated and you know,
Right, I was thinking that.
come up with a plan.
In the interim, if we want to look at the possibility of a warrant article, we can
While we were sitting there.
get signatures and drafting the language on that.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you, appreciate your time.
Chief Briggs, I know you said you could talk on the tree thing. Do you want me to call you tomorrow or something, or?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
good night, guys.
Okay.
Rich has-
Any further public comment? Anybody else got anything for Rich?
No, I'm all set.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Rich. Okay, old business. Election workers.
What if anybody's talking to the school? Anything?
What's that?
Then we'll talk to Tammy.
Oh, Tammy, well, I can
Hang on,
speak
what
up.
was your first question?
If Tammy talked to the school to see if they could provide people help or anything.
I don't know whether she did or not. I do know that she's suggesting we start out at $10 an hour for the election workers. And I would make that a motion if you'd like at this time, and speak to it.
Please.
So I move that we increase the rate of pay for election workers to $10 per hour, effective with the September primary.
Second.
Do they still get lunch?
And dinner. You get 4 of them, I can tell.
There's a motion and a second, and that's the only way we get you there.
The only one- Former select persons who shall remain unnamed.
So,
Worse.
we got a motion and a second, discussion. Okay. The motion is to go to $10 an hour,
Yeah.
effective September 8th.
Yes, that primary, yeah.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Alessio?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Coombs?
Abstain.
St. James?
Why not?
Yes. I don't think why not's a choice.
Well, yeah.
On with this election stuff, there was a rumor that the school wasn't going to be accommodating us for the voting. That is not true. I clarified that with the school, and that,
Jim,
Where was that rumor?
It was
that's,
a question, yeah, a question that came in and
And no one knew anything about it.
No.
so,
Does Tammy have a list of how many people we need?
She's also, she's been doing this for a while. I mean, you're talking about election workers?
Yep.
We might need more. We're probably gonna put something on the website to do so, because we may wanna do a couple of shifts, especially with COVID issues, and have this primary will be our practice round, if you will.
and there is something in your packet that explains that selectmen can work other jobs other than just monitoring
By
the scans are on there.
Right.
Rather than just look pretty.
Comes so natural to you, Kevin.
Campaign.
So I had suggested we put it out on the local Facebook page.
Oh, yes, we definitely need to do that, because we're gonna, and I said we're gonna try, if we can, to do split shifts in September and train twice as many people. Some of our more seasoned workers may not be able to or be willing to work under COVID conditions, so that's why we may need more.
So I think we could put it out on the Kingston Facebook page, police and fire Facebook page.
Correct. That's absolutely correct.
Do we want to see what kind of response we get from the regular website first?
Sure.
My concern with the Facebook page is you'll get 300 people who say, yeah, they're interested in it, and no one will show up that day.
Well, we'll have them contact Tammy for more information.
Yes.
She can make a list.
Yep.
Do you want to check with Tammy before we
Well,
put that
I
out?
was gonna give him your phone number.
I thought, I've seen his number everywhere in town.
I don't even want to touch that one.
Okay, we good on election?
Yep.
I think we just covered the trees on town on property.
Yep.
Assessment issues. Had the meeting with KRT.
You get what you pay for.
So I have a concern on what Tori was speaking to me about today.
Well, before you go there, you should know that she's gonna have an update of all the other things that have been missed. And we will have that for the next meeting.
Yeah.
So rather than tie up time tonight, there was quite a few, as you saw the last meeting where they didn't pick up any of the building permits.
20 to 30 things.
Yeah, and there's a lot more problems of things that were finished but not changed and updated on the cards. So she's been working on developing that data so we can see that it's a serious problem. And then we get on our tables here, that little note from KRT's president, who, by the way, asked me to send him a copy of the purchase and sale for the Sanborn property. And I have an electronic copy. I did not send it to him because I was planning to come to this meeting to make sure you wanted me to do that. And because the purchase price in dollars was nominal, to say the least. And then they put through, they would completely, I mean, 1.987,200 is what they've come up with.
I don't understand, to me, I think he's still missing that a third of the property, or whatever it is, the Chase Field is still in there. I think that's why it's still high. I think
This is not high. $2 million is not high, Kevin.
It's not high?
It's not high.
Okay.
It's not high.
I thought we had 800.
The low one was 850 and the other was 1.8, but that was 3 years ago. You're gonna have some appreciation.
Okay, gotcha.
So I expect it to be higher than those original ones, even with the Chase Field coming off the roll. I expected it 2.5. If you were to be, that's kind of what I think it was coming in on.
Okay, so this is an accurate figure, you think? You were involved with
The
it?
only way it would be more accurate is if we had an independent assessor take a look.
Yeah.
To be very honest with you. I didn't get warm and fuzzies from the, I can't go there. I can't go there in public.
Good call.
So it's up to you. I mean,
So did you look at that spreadsheet?
I did look at that spreadsheet, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Those oranges,
That's why I say I didn't think we should spend time on it tonight.
Yeah,
Because
it was
none
in
of you,
here.
the rest of you have that information, and she's not done compiling the data. And I really think we need to look at all of that before we make any comments about it.
I would agree.
that list is just the supplemental tax bills.
Yeah,
like
that's
that
on one
here
piece of it,
that they
Joe.
would sign. And any red notes on the side are just things that she's still.
Yeah, she showed me some other stuff. I mean, we did not really talk about it. She wants to prepare a full report for the board, and I think that's the right way to
I do,
go forward.
I agree.
As far as the assessing, I mean, we could leave it as is. It's not way out of whack. I don't have a big problem.
Okay. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, under the 79E easement, what it would be is, depending on the length that we pick, a future buyer of that property would be paying that assessed value for 5 to...
They would be paying taxes on this amount.
Yeah.
For the duration. I mean, and I'm gonna assume that 79E would come into play, but that's for when they're finished the project.
Yep.
And the value gets much higher,
Yep.
they would have a certain amount that they would go a few years without paying the additional increase over this amount. That's how 79E
And if he
works.
does it in phases, each phase will be taxed accordingly.
Correct, that is correct.
So at what period of time does it start from a reduced rate to full?
It's determined.
5 years?
It's determined by what we vote on when 79E is brought forth to us.
Correct.
So at the very least...
Anywhere from,
But the very, this would be the base for their tax card,
The bottom end of it.
the bottom end of it, that's correct.
That's better than a sharp stick.
It is. It is.
Okay?
And it only goes up as they make the improvements on that property. I mean, they still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Get me wrong. I think I did report out, I did reach out to the Chinbrook properties to set up a meeting because I think they're gonna need a serious variance to develop the property. They may, I'm assuming they're working on plans right now, but I'm taking a wild guess that we're almost gonna have to take that property and exempt it from the zoning in terms of rural residential, not historic, but, because they want to do mixed use in that sector. So that's a guess, it's a wild guess. I have no idea what they're gonna propose. So I'm waiting for them to contact us. We're ready to rock and start meeting with them and see what we've got to work with.
Is the purchase and sale signed and done? It is? Okay.
And if you'd like me to send you all a copy, I'd be happy to do that.
No, I'm curious if it was actually signed.
It's signed in May 20th, I believe.
Okay.
So it is signed, but there are contingencies. They gotta get 79E passed, of course that passed, but they need zoning issues, and they're gonna need rebates, and they want abatements on impact fees. And again, that was preliminary. I have no idea what the final plan looks like and where they're going. We haven't met, because I'm waiting for them to, and I'm not blinking, so they get a call if they wanna get going.
Okay.
Okay? And that's it on that for me.
Okay, so KRT meeting, we don't want to talk about that, or,
Which one, I'm sorry?
the report on meeting with KRT personnel?
She wasn't happy.
No, I wasn't.
Who else, wait, was it Briggs or which
It
one?
was Dawn, and I have, in fairness to KRT, there were 4 principals plus the gentleman that's the assessor. And his supervisor, who's done the assessing for 16 years, had a better comfort level with him, but we're not out of the woods yet. Too many things are not up to snuff. And I know we had COVID, but they could have done the paperwork. I don't think the assessor cares. It's not his town, not his money. That is my analysis of the attitude.
Yeah,
From the assessor, not the president of the company or operations manager and the other.
I think we should take a good look based upon just some of the properties we've looked at. We've just happened to see certain things that come out. When I spoke with Tori today, there's even an assessment on like a garage. It's brought to our attention, we talked about a garage. The garage can be, Robert was talking about a $20,000 stick bill, or it could be a $40,000 stick bill, depending. So they kind of lump them all together, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's something we really need to take a look at.
We don't have the time nor the management staff to monitor them.
Right.
I mean, we are definitely ready for a town manager. And we need to start letting people know we're thinking in those directions, assuming that all of us are thinking in that direction. But they're gonna need a lot of hand-holding for us to get to where we need to be. And I have no experience in assessing, but that's my assessment of the situation.
Your assessment of the assessing?
I'm a good assessor in that kind of stuff, but I don't know, I'm not happy.
Okay, well, we will leave it
that way.
Leave you
Fuming.
on top of that.
I will be following up, there's no question.
The town reopening policy memo, where is the one that needs signatures? We never adopted it.
Never adopted. If you vote to adopt it, then I'll make a final copy.
Oh my God, all right, I move that we adopt the town reopening procedures.
Second.
Dated, we don't have a date on that, right?
No, it'll put it first page.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Is today the 20th or the 19th?
Today's the 20th.
It is the 20th.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Further discussion beyond the 6 public hearings we had on that. Okay, roll call vote.
Alessio?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Coombs?
Yes.
St. James?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Mostly for the meeting guidelines, everything else is pretty much in place.
Okay, new business, library updates on reopening.
That's me.
Sorry, I would have jumped to that sooner.
Are you gonna attend on the internet?
I wasn't.
Okay, I will. I'll update them later on what you send me.
Okay, that's fine. All right. If you want to use. Summary, what's going on. I take my mask off.
Sure.
Then introduce myself. I gotta wake up now. Okay, so the library's been providing services since June 3rd. Just to confirm that, the book drop was open and we were accepting reserves on June 3rd, and we've been providing materials to patrons on an appointment basis, and we call it a curbside pickup. So they've been able to get materials. We order patron requests. We're doing those kind of services right now for people. We did not have plastic shields in place until they started putting them in place last week. Thank you to the Kingston Maintenance Department. They came to our rescue and we really appreciate it. I ended up going out and ordering Lexan. I had 3 companies come in. They gave me quotes. I didn't get quotes from some of the companies. They're so busy. They're so on back order with the material that I just think it's difficult to even get quotes these days. So then I ended up material, and they promised me the end of June, early July. It didn't come, so I ended up going to Lowe's. My coworker and I figured out a way to build them because we just couldn't get it done. So then I went and got Lexan when I saw it was available at Lowe's. I got 2 sheets, and then I talked to Rich, and he said that they could get Lexan, which they did last Monday, and they started putting them in. We probably will get finished with them. Tom said that he might be able to finish them on Thursday. So we got a lot of the materials in for them to do that by hanging them from the drop ceiling, and it's worked really well. The other part of this is we will be open depending, of course, if someone gets ill. I've had situations already with staff that they've been exposed to people that were exposed to COVID-19. We're all dealing with that. The trustees have a pandemic policy and a pandemic interim service plan in place to help me and help them make decisions about opening. Let's see, we are trying to open as soon as possible. I could see opening in the next 2 weeks, but it really depends on having that specific reopen plan, which I expect to get finished this week. And that's where we stand. I can tell you also that out of the 21 libraries on the Seacoast, only 5 libraries are open. They're all providing, most of them actually are providing curbside delivery, which is what we're doing. But only one, which is Exeter, is fully open. Even Portsmouth is doing only by appointment only. So it's about 23% are open by appointment. Most of the libraries in the state are open, providing curbside delivery for the most part.
Is Plastow, Danville, East Kingston, are they all closed?
Plastow is open.
Yeah. And Hampstead?
Hampstead is open. They're just not part of the Seacoast Library Co-op, so I didn't count them, but they are open. So I see us opening by appointment only, so people would walk in, well, they'd call us. If they're at the door, we'd make an appointment for them. They'd be able to come in, have at 1-hour appointments, be able to use the computers, the copier. And that would also allow us to be able to know who was in the building if we have any issues. So that's what we're looking at.
So I have PPE that we've set aside for you, so when you open.
Yes, and that was also a challenge, but we have enough hand sanitizer now. We have masks from the state that we were able to get if we can supply the public with if they need a mask.
Okay, so I have more PPE that I set aside for
Right.
you, so if you need it.
Great, because that is one of the items that's just difficult to get. We have gloves. Okay, I know that now. Thank you. So we're informing everyone. We're sending letters out to the patrons on the status. People are eager for the space to be open, but we want to open safely. The other thing I can mention, and I think is important, is that we've been offering a full summer reading program this year. It's a 6-week program. We're in the 5th week. We had a successful program. last week, Mystic Drums, it was an outdoor program. We attracted 46 people. This Friday, we're having On the Wing, which is a live owl or raptor show they're out of Epping. And we're adding a show because it's been so popular. We had 13 messages this morning, so it's quite popular. So we are providing entertainment. They have make and take program kits that they can pick up. It's pretty active. So we are offering programming, and we did offer the drive-in a couple weeks ago, the drive-in movie.
Can I just ask, you're still fully staffed and been paying all your employees through this whole thing?
We had 2 employees that were on leave. They were on leave of absence.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah, I wanted to mention, if you don't know about the Comet, Neowise, we are a NASA, my library grant recipient, so I have to tell you about a NASA program.
Again? Get the NASA grant again?
It's going to end in October. Yeah. We've had it for 3 years. So the Comet, if you don't know about it, is Comet Neowise. It's only viewable in New Hampshire up until July 22nd. So I'm going to go to the boat launch, and I'm going to see if I can see it. You look towards the Big Dipper, and it's in the northwest sky. And it's pretty big. I saw it on Saturday. It was pretty hazy, but it's pretty big in the sky. So just a note if you're interested.
Thank you, Miss Rebecca.
Thank you.
I got up 3:30 Sunday morning to see all the planets lined up.
Oh, cool.
Last time in 50,000 years that's going to happen.
Is that right, yeah?
Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, Mars, Earth, and one more. You can see all of them.
Yeah. Cool. Good job. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Rebecca.
Okay, water filtration systems.
You did skip over the financial update. Budget.
You might have it on your...
Number E, before the library, before the business.
You might have an older version. That's what I was saying. You got the one out of...
It's my fault, I left my packet in my truck. Took her car.
No worries. I had asked for an update of our financial condition, including expenses, remember at the last meeting?
Yes.
And Cindy was very good about getting that out to us. And it looks like, for the most part, we're in good shape, I thought, given all that's going on. I mean, we still have a chunk of money to come in from the feds. And,
The only thing I noticed, if we had any plans on not doing it, we don't have that option anymore. All capital reserve funds got funded.
yeah, well,
I think we're already in that boat.
no, I thought we were going to wait till the fall to put the money in there.
Yeah,
because we needed the cash.
That's what I thought we were gonna do. I don't know when they got transferred.
And maybe the city didn't know we were holding on and you know. Yeah.
But
Okay, I thought that was the case in March, that they had all been funded, except for...
it's our control whether we do it. We could have not funded it this way. If something catastrophic happened, we wouldn't have affected the tax.
As the select board, even though the voters had approved capital funding, it would have been up to us to determine whether we put the money in the savings account or not, based on cash flow. We could have waited until September, which is what I thought we were going to do, but somehow, I don't know, who is this finance officer's liaison?
I don't know that answer.
Okay, so that's probably where it fell down. One of us didn't tell her. That's what it boils down to. But we're still in good shape, don't get me wrong, but I still...
Well, we asked for this based on the fact to decide what to do with pay increases.
That's exactly correct.
And, you know, the Indians are getting restless. I guess I can't say that anymore.
You can't say that anymore.
Yeah.
Well, we probably should have another meeting to finish whatever the reviews were and then determine the pay
Well, it seems like every time we have a meeting, we say we should have another one. We said we were gonna talk about it the 1st of July, and then we said
Well-
we're gonna wait for this, and then we're gonna wait for something
Well,
else.
1st of July asked for it, and it took 2 weeks to get it, because we didn't have a meeting. So now, maybe next week we should meet Wednesday afternoon. I don't know, I'm just throwing that out.
I don't care if we wait another 2 weeks, but we have to be ready to do something.
Well,
I totally agree with you.
the greatest amount of time is gonna be, we should be going over the reviews, right?
Which we've gone over most of them.
Yeah, but I mean, we haven't gone over each department, the employees' reviews.
Well, we don't
We
do
don't do the
that, right?
employees.
We let the department head do that.
Typically, the department head will come in, we'll give them the chunk of money that they have to expend, and they'll go through line by
We
line.
go
with
with
the
department heads, which I think we've done all of them.
Yeah, but then we sit down with the selectmen and go over each department, how we reviewed the employees.
Yeah.
No, we don't do the employees, Don.
No, we didn't, like Griggs would come in to sit in front of the selectmen for all his employees, say, this is what I plan on giving, this
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
And then we just give the blessing,
Okay.
and it's done. We don't get into the review itself.
No, that's a department head's choice.
Sit in public or non-public?
No,
That's a non-public.
that should be done during the day, I would guess, right? It's gonna be a lengthy,
It's up to you, you guys set the
well,
time.
we spent a full day.
Yeah, it went long,
We set up a full day and do time.
like an hour each department type thing, you know?
Well, I would think it would vary depending on the number of people.
Well, it does, but
What we ended up doing is, we had a schedule, and we were just kind of texting them as we were working down the line.
Yeah,
say we're
Because
ready for
We
it.
blocked out an hour, and that got obliterated after the first appointment, but
I'll put that first one at the end this time, whoever that was.
it doesn't matter who it is, it's always gonna go over. But I think by the end we caught up, though, we had a couple small departments come in, and we did get.
Can we, in 2 weeks, then finalize this and then set up the week after that for everybody?
We should.
So we can get this going?
Yeah, I think the reality of the situation is we're in better financial shape than we thought we were gonna be. I would like, the only thing I would like to see is get a final report from Tammy on what our current tax collection is.
I would just still caution, the issue is gonna be, we knew it wouldn't be the January tax, the June taxes, it's going to be the December taxes coming in. So, we're looking good now, but I don't think that means, I think we should give the raises, I think they should be effective July 1st, so regardless of whatever date we pick, so that
Most of the time you go effective back to the election.
Usually April 1st.
are we going to April? Okay. I thought we didn't have that, okay. Well, that's fine, but I just don't think we should start spending money because it looks good right now.
I don't think that either, but I think this is a commitment we made.
Yep.
We didn't know what financial situation we were gonna be in at this time, and I agree with you, December, next June will be the other telling ones, but I think we have a budgeted number, and based on the information we have, we should proceed with what we planned on the budget.
Okay.
I agree.
So do you want to pick a day now for that, for the employees, for the department heads, or do you want to wait till next?
Well, from what Rich said, we're gonna review this first and then set a date?
We review this in 2 weeks in our meeting. What we're asking for from Tammy and everything, and then set up the following week to have a daytime meeting to do this.
Yeah.
Well, someone's gonna have to help me with, I don't know what you set aside for everybody, every department. Is there a protocol?
Didn't we already give that to the department heads?
I think, no, we didn't. No, we didn't.
Did what?
I think, we
Did you
budgeted
give
only
the amount of money
3%.
to each department head to know?
Yeah,
what
so-
they're
Supposed to be only 3% got budgeted.
And then, but the previous year, what did we do, 2% for, and then we had the authority to kind of spend the remaining 1%, so.
Because we already divvied up the extra money that we set aside for adjusting pay.
So why don't we just issue that guidance so that the department heads can do their math? I think most of them have, but, and then set a date. I don't know. What do you think we need to meet in 2 weeks about?
You just said you want to get another report from Tammy.
No, I understand that. I mean,
So we don't need any more information. This shows us in good shape right now.
yeah, I'm just saying,
Then let's
should we wait on setting a date
Let's
for?
pick a date. Tell them, yeah. The only thing we have, that I'm not aware of is what amount each department has to work with. So do we,
It's generally 2%.
okay, 2% of last year's salary account?
Their current rate, 2%.
2% currently, okay.
I thought we approved more than that.
What we do, so 3% is what got budgeted, but what,
4% got budgeted.
No, it was supposed to get budgeted, and someone didn't put that number in, so it only ended up being 3%.
so what we do with the remaining percent is if there are shortfalls within the department or there's something we don't agree with the department head, that it gives us flexibility to allocate money within that.
I have to say, I would be looking either the 31st or the 3rd.
31st is a Thursday.
No, that's a Friday, 31st.
I'm sorry, you are correct.
And the 3rd's a Monday. We'd have a Board of Selectmen meeting that night, but
Yeah, I'd rather not do it a day that we have that meeting.
The night is long enough.
or I could do the 5th or 7th.
I would prefer it's after the 1st, that's my main requirement.
The 5th is a Wednesday. The 7th is a Friday.
What would you prefer, you said?
Anything after the 1st of August.
I would have to, I can only do the 3rd, 5th, or 7th.
5th will work for me.
3rd is, the 5th, 1st works for you, Wednesday?
Yep.
Okay, I'm good. with
Friday
that.
the 5th.
And then for the Wednesday, we have
Is
to
it Wednesday or
be,
Friday?
Is that Wednesday?
Wednesday's the 5th. You have
after 11 o'clock, at 11 o'clock,
To when?
till whenever it's done.
I think we started at 10 last time.
No, I got a meeting that day, that's what I'm saying, I can't, I'm not available till 11.
So Wednesday the 5th, starting at 11. Does that work?
Okay.
Just, well, never mind.
What?
Do you need me to let the department heads know
Yes,
about
please
this?
do, yes.
Can you come up with a schedule of appearance also?
Okay.
Just so they know when they'll be. Okay. Water filtration systems.
Oh, it was just a memo from Rich, I believe. He had written a note, I think it's in your packets. It's just, if there are questions on the purchase order, that's, the letter gives a list of where these filters are that are being maintained by the town, and he is requesting that the invoices be handled by the health officer in the future, which I mentioned to Pete. He said, well, he would just get them to Cindy. So I'm not sure what needs to be done with them, but he would like it to be handled by the health department.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
We talked about that.
And he just wanted you to know what the invoice, what the purchase order is. It's for these 5 filters that we need to maintain.
Okay. Any issues with that? Nope. Okay. Town hall server and email. Yay.
Where are we?
So I sent an email out on this. I guess it seems like we're having a lot of connectivity issues between the email. We've got an old server that has Windows 2008 on it, so it isn't even supported anymore. I guess I want to poll the board or see. I think we're at a point where we need a technical consultant to come in, not getting freebies from the school anymore, but we need someone who can actually assess our situation and just give us a realistic number on what we need to do to upgrade this system over the next 5 years and kind of come up with a phased upgrade plan.
Or even 3 years.
Or 3 years, or whatever the budgetary number is that works within the budgeting process. But you know, it was requested that we go for the server, and Cindy did find a great deal on it and everything like that. But I just, my concern is that we're buying something that may not work if we were to come up with an integrated plan that all the departments talk to each other and we actually have a network that works together.
I had a quick conversation with Chief Bellerin and Chief Briggs the other day. Because the new building at the fire station, Graham's been talking with Block 5 Technology. They're out of Londonderry. And I'm familiar with Block 5 because we use them at the county. The fire department is already budgeted to do something for their building, and it kind of makes sense to have like a mainframe with fiber optics running both directions, coming this way and over to the police station. So we have a legitimate network, not a piecemeal where he has a server, he has a server, there's a server downstairs.
No one can talk to anybody.
You know, so I would think we should possibly at least get a hold of Block 5 to come in and just take a look and give us their opinion. Because, you know, like I said, Graham already had a conversation with someone before that and said, yeah, we should have a .gov account and exactly how to go about it, and said, you know, your server, you have issues, and the iPower, never even heard of it. Then Chief Briggs recently had someone come in his and gave me the exact same information. We should have a .gov account. And then when I questioned Cindy on it the other day, iPower is the greatest thing. There's nothing wrong with iPower. It was a simple mistake. It was a simple mistake. I said, well, Rich can't get his email. That's a problem with his phone. I said, the fire department is losing emails. That's because of their server. And I couldn't get a straight answer. And I just think we should have someone come in before 2,500. I don't know what a server goes for, but it seems like we're just, as your words were, shoestring and duct tape. And I think
technology in the 80s that we have with iPower. No one has iPower. No one of any merit has iPower. So we're going to get rid of that.
And I think, in Cindy's defense, you know, that's a job she's taken on, and I don't think there was really any direction to kind of upgrade the system. So I think I wanted to pull the board with, you know, and I think that's a good, you know, whoever to come out and give us an idea of what we're looking at for dollars and, you know, for hardware and dollars for support to integrate all that.
If COVID has taught us anything, it's that the technology and the ability to communicate at different levels has changed. And we can't keep doing what we've been doing.
I know, we can't run into a situation that happened at the library where these things get taken over and, you know, there's some, you know, Belarusian hacker who's demanding $500 to get our information back or whatever.
Yeah.
We can't risk that, and we need to just
We need to bite the bullet and move forward. Yep.
Cindy just wanted to make the point, I know, because I talked to her a little bit about it, that the server is 7 years old here. And if it goes down, it takes everybody down, I mean, down, and it's not anything to do with the email, that's a separate thing.
Be that as it may, our system is old and dysfunctional.
Right, so she's just worried that it is due to be, so don't take too much time about it.
No, I mean, I think this needs to happen immediately, but I guess my concern was, I don't want to spend $3,000 on a server that someone could come in, we have a consultant come in and they're like, hey, you gotta do paperwork.
Right, and that makes sense, even though that was a good price and you need to do that, if we're gonna look at the whole situation, we may have to buy a server in 2 months anyways.
Yeah.
To get things moving, so let's go. How do we get it started? We ask you to call Block 5 or whatever it is?
Graham's got a contact that they're already working with the new building, and like I said, we have found them to be an incredible company. responsive. It's not, Graham actually, and here's the thing, and not to pick on school or anything else, but they have their own issues there, and they're trying to get school up.
They have a different person now. Stop beating up on the old dude that didn't do jack shit. Right?
Yeah, no.
Once in a while, so I can make a contribution. So we can start.
Building to building, look at.
Yeah, okay.
You're probably still gonna have to put it out to bid.
Yes.
Well, that's fine, but let's know what we don't know.
Right, thank you,
I'll make that happen.
thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Committee liaison, or what do you got?
You need to do a vote to sign the bond for the fire department.
Yeah, see what that
It's
came
in
in
its own
at.
folder there.
1.67.
In the red folder under the green folder.
Isn't that a beautiful number?
So, but I think even less than that. Isn't there, when you figure it all out, they're like, we're $200,000 short of what we don't have to pay?
They got
I don't know.
Cindy tried to explain it to me, and she said she'll be available if you want to ask, but if you look at the numbers, it's a little confusing. You're not, the 3 million is actually less because they do in such bulk, they get a better.
Because they make money.
And that reduces your initial amount.
2,644,550.
Right. So,
Right, so we don't have to pay back the 3 million,
Nice.
because they're making money
On the flow.
on the loan, yeah. So they kick it back to the community, so we're
Nice.
not paying back the full 3 million.
This was a win-win all the way around. Sort of. What's 2.6 mil?
That was
Among
on
friends.
The bond attorney and the other attorney.
Well, Mark had a big opinion about that.
I'm sure he did, and still does. So you need a motion to sign that bond?
Motion to have
Yes.
Bill sign it, and then I can.
Well, everybody's name's on here, so it's not just gonna be me signing.
Oh, okay. No.
So moved.
And if there's sticky notes.
Second. Just put it down, don't worry. We'll sign where they tell us to.
And then we'll have to
One
hold
of
the
those
bond hearing.
sticky notes to make sure you don't sign where you're not.
It's okay if I read it?
Go right ahead.
Okay.
Just get a motion, that's all.
Yeah, it's actually, what was it, $200,000 or $300,000 that we don't have to pay back?
Well, it sounds like 3 point something.
Yeah, that's 300,000.
So it reduces your overall interest.
Because that's why we do the municipal bond, because
You make.
We make money.
A bigger buy, so you can say somewhere. It's good, it's great. Okay.
You want us to vote before you sign?
No. I guess we know which way you're voting if you don't sign it. Do we actually need to vote?
probably should.
We have a motion and a second.
Briggs, Coombs,
Yes.
Briggs is yes.
St. James.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, goes back that way.
All right, committee liaison reports.
Planning board's moving along.
Okay.
Budget Committee has our first meeting set for August 26th. And I want to ask, what is the intention of the Board of Selectmen as far as how do they want to handle the budget? The old way was department heads come before the Board of Selectmen and show them the budget, and then go to the Budget Committee, go through that whole process, and then we're back at it on decision day. The last few years, we kind of sidestepped that because the Budget Committee really sets it. You know, so the department heads didn't come to us first. They went to the Budget Committee, and then on decision day, we decided what we wanted to do. And I've heard different things from different people, so how do you want to do it? Do you want the department heads to come to us first, and then go to the Budget Committee?
We should be the ultimate decision makers other than the voters.
We are at decision day, but
I mean, if they come to us first, it may make that Saturday a lot smoother. You know, that we know we're not hit with any surprises or anything, like last year we had a few surprises thrown at us. I don't really
first step.
I think, if nothing else, to present a united front.
Yeah.
And if there's an issue, we have time to research and resolve it.
So you want them to come to the board first?
That's my personal opinion, yes.
Okay, I have no experience in this.
I
so
I mean,
That's how
honestly,
we've always done it.
yeah, I mean, but for the past 2 years, we haven't done it that way,
Right.
so.
But I think it answers, I mean, you may have a lot of questions, you may want to ask the department head about why you're doing this, or why did you put this in, or why isn't it over here, or whatever, and it gets resolved at that level. Or maybe someone from the board wants some more information, so the department head can go research it for that person, versus wait to the last minute.
Yeah.
The other thing is, most departments, other than a few, probably already know the budget for next year.
Sure.
And we could probably start setting some of these people up like one at a time, so we don't end up with some really long
Now that I like.
meetings.
All right, so I'll make it happen that way. And then the only other thing I had, I was hoping maybe we could just streamline stuff or be more transparent. When I met with Rich on Friday, I just happened to mention that it was on, and I only caught it quickly, that Second Empire was going to be there was going to be at our meeting tonight to vote on Great Pond. And he's like, I wish someone told me, you know, I need to be there. So I was thinking it would probably be a good idea that when you do send the agenda out, not only does it have the selectmen, it has all the department heads on it, including library, Cindy, you know, Tammy, Graham, Don, just so that they have the agenda. If they have any concerns, they can follow with their liaison, or, you know, and all you have to do is set up a group email, and it goes out to
I'll do
everybody.
that just with the regular agenda. When I send you your agenda, it's got all your notes on it. So I don't share that with everybody. But
You don't have to, but they should
the
get
regular
the...
agenda, I'll put in an email. It's also, when I put it on the website, it goes out to subscribers, but they may not be subscribers.
I think if he saw something that came from the Board of Selectmen that said agenda, everyone would be more apt to read it, but I just think it, you know, might be good to set up a group email that goes out.
And I'll tell my groups that that's gonna start coming, so they know. One other thing on liaison that I forgot about is I've been kind of asked to be the representative from the selectmen for the history book. And they're gonna start including me on the Zoom meetings that they're having. So I think they picked me because I'm on the heritage group and it's kind of a subsidiary type.
Well, you already know half the stuff that happened too.
Ouch.
I told them to go with Ellie because she's the oldest one here, but
Yeah, I know. It's all right, you will do as I say.
All right, we've got an inspector, we didn't have an inspectors meeting last week. It's just, summer's just too busy for me. We're not getting, I mean, it's attended, but it's spotty. Some people don't make it every time, so kind of working through that. But we're dealing with issues as they come up still. We're having that meeting on a every other week basis, so I think we've been getting a handle on most of the stuff that went by the wayside during COVID, so we're getting there. Anybody else?
So we went out and looked at the shooting range on North Road. We walked out there last Friday and made suggestions to the owner of the property. We took the state DES guy with us. And I went back and looked again on Ball Road. And that gentleman out there does not want to be shooting towards Ball Road. And he wants to keep the range the way it is, so I'd recommend that we ask Debbie to look at changing the way that
Trail wraps
around that area. And there is another area I gotta check 2 places down that apparently they're shooting very close to where they're walking as well. As I spoke to earlier, that they want to do a site walk up on the gentleman that came in on his property to take a look at it. It would probably be something good for some of us to go take a look at as well. The other gentleman that's been calling me and wanted me to bring it up to the board tonight is Charlie Hannigan on a land swap of 8 point something acres of land with something that the town already owns so we can build a house there.
We talked about that last meeting,
Yep.
and we said we were gonna check into all the rules, and then
So I think,
I don't think we can just swap it. I think it has to go to town warrant.
so, like I informed you of the piece that we swapped years ago
Yeah.
with the firing range in Tormail,
Yeah.
I think you still have to follow that same protocol. So if that's what the board wants me to inform him tomorrow, then I will inform him of that.
Yeah, it cannot just be an outright swap. It just doesn't work.
and just a thought, maybe we should put in a warrant article that allows us to sell town-owned property.
They do, every so many years they do. It failed in, what, 2003, is that when it was last time?
I don't remember.
That was the last one I found, and I looked at a couple later years to see if it came up again, but I didn't see anything yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long time ago, 17 years.
I don't know why, as a voter, I would vote no for that.
They don't want to give too much power to us, but I think with the number of tax properties that we own, they'd want us to clear house a little.
Well, I think the last time what they did is they put the parcels out to conservation and the different groups. They have them look at them to see if there was anything that was more valuable to the town. And what was left over, they were going to look at putting back onto the tax roll again by selling.
Can we get a printed tax map with all those?
Tori can give you a printout.
It's pretty extensive.
I mean an actual map so we can see where they are.
It's already marked, it's delineated on the tax map. I believe it's like,
Up there, hash marks. So
it's all hash mapped out if you look at them.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else on liaisons? Public comment? Okay.
Before you go, I think I sent you this email, it was from July 9th. The Trails Bureau received a call from a citizen of Kingston about F&G conservation officers ticketing Rockland Road for off-road vehicles. Did you see this? This road is not legally recognized as being an OHRV trail by the town.
Easy guys, easy, Kevin.
Don, do you know about this? Fish and game ticketing people on Rock Rimmon Road?
No, I can look into it then. I can look
Yeah,
into it.
oh, and here's, that's, I think it's the same one. If it's not legally recognized as an OHRV trail by the town, it may be helpful to post signs on the trail.
Well, I think it's recognized as a trail. That's my understanding, and I'll research it though to make sure I'm correct. My understanding was it was made a trail years ago,
Okay.
but let me look into that. So, did you know on this property here, there's been a lawsuit filed, you know that, right? So that was filed the other day against the gentleman that was clearing the road.
The one we talked to, or?
Yeah, okay, that lawsuit was filed by the,
Okay.
so I don't know where, we should probably, 4 minutes.
All right, so we have some correspondence. One was a letter of concern regarding the lack of local adherence to COVID-19 guidelines. I will summarize the letter rather than reading it. They were concerned that they went to multiple restaurants in Kingston and they felt that the governor's order was not being followed. My counter to that would be the state made up imaginary rules, did not consult us, and then made us the enforcement authority on it. The tools of enforcement they gave us were education, refer them to the Liquor Commission, refer them to the Attorney General's office. We have done all of those steps in that order, and there has been nothing that has come of any of those things. So as a town, we have done everything that the state has asked us to do, and more, I would say.
Well, they can call, and I'll go out and have a conversation with if they have a date and time that they feel someone's violating that.
And I will say.
Well, that's a health officer thing.
But the letter did not cite specific examples, it just cited, but I will say that I feel we have done our job above and beyond this thing, and they're rules with no teeth, so there's nothing that we can do beyond what we've done. And so I recognize their concern, but as the town, I don't think we've failed to do anything that we've been required to do.
No, what they've recommended that the police or health officer, is we go out and we educate them.
And we've got some smart people now, because we've done a lot of education.
So if you do have something, don't be afraid to give us a call, either health or police. We will go out and speak to the owner.
Yeah, I would say, Susan, if you want to write her back, and if she has a specific example that, she would like addressed, we can certainly.
Yep, I'd be more than happy to go out and speak to the property owner.
I've been to a number of the local restaurants. I don't think they're really in violation. Does someone's mask slip sometimes? Yes. I mean, but in terms of, they have both indoor, outdoor, and outdoor. I see the staff wearing the mask for the most part. So I don't feel uncomfortable going to. I understand the writer's concerns. I mean, they're an older couple and they want to be sure that they're safe when they're going out. I understand that, but I think people have done a pretty good job actually in town. I mean, we've had, 19, 20 cases overall in Kingston? That's pretty low in the greater scheme of things. And
Yeah, I've been to 3 restaurants in town, and everybody I saw there was adhering to the rules, all the staff and everything was.
Bolton's, Carriagetown, Rick's.
We have one active case.
George's.
We have one active case right now.
one active case, that's it, right?
That's what
I've
they
even been
do.
to Satellite.
So what they do with fire and police, as soon as they have someone that's diagnosed with it, they send it to us immediately. So if we have to respond to that home, then we are prepared to, when we have to enter the home for either a medical emergency or a police call, so we know that.
Right. Yeah, I think our town has done extremely well in terms of taking care of ourselves and keeping the illness down to a dull war.
Social distancing, I see a lot of that even out on the planes and stuff.
People have been great on that.
They have been great in that.
Yeah.
But again, if that person does have a specific example, if they could let us know, but please let them know that.
Be more than happy to address it.
Following that, so we have received a $600 anonymous donation to the COVID crisis fund that we set up.
So you need a motion to accept?
We need a motion and second to accept.
I move that we accept the generous and $600 anonymous donation for COVID aid.
Second. Okay, roll call vote.
Alessio?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
J.J.?
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody should have received a copy of the letter from Attorney Cronin.
Yes.
Just to keep you up to date on that. As a Long Pond abutter, we've been notified that some milfoil treatment is taking place on Long Pond.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So that request for a permit, I got called from the gentleman that sponsored that a bike ride to Saddle Up to see if we're going to be issuing that permit. That's the one they did last year, the fundraiser. And I will need to call him back tomorrow on what the board's decision is and whether we're going to do that or not issue it.
How I understood that letter, we can't refuse that based
Correct.
on.
If he meets all the requirements for the permit.
Right.
So this is a gentleman that's up near Harley Davidson place. He sponsors it. He doesn't sponsor it. There's a separate sponsor. He sets it up, lines up. They start down here, they do a motorcycle ride for X amount of miles, and then I think they come back, if I remember right. But he wants to know what process and protocol he needs to. Does he need to pull a permit? Does he need to?
Well, this is the one they did last year, right?
That's correct.
So, I mean, it would be the same process. I mean, like Rich said, we've been told that our our other issues with that are notwithstanding here, so.
All right, so do you want me to work with them on it? Do you want him to pull a permit through the town? Or
I think they pulled a permit through the town last time, didn't they?
they did?
So I think whatever we did last time, we'll do that again.
All right.
Do we charge fees for those permits? Not enough.
It's not on town property.
No, it's not on top, right?
Yeah,
The
but we have-
only fee, or the only cost associated with would be if there's details or, you know, fire watch or an
Okay, so we
ambulance.
don't
escort.
charge for that, or we don't charge?
So we have a wetland permit application. And did we have to take any action on
Just
it?
got a new intent to cut today as well in there, it's not on your list.
Yeah. And where is that?
Should be in the signature file.
No, where is it located?
Oh, it's that one you're better in. I can't remember where it is.
But said parcel of wood to be cut is located where?
I don't know, it's in front of me, I don't have a copy. It's on the front page.
Oh, okay. So it's Marshall Road, the one that's been approved by the planning board, the Hazel Hanson heirs.
Right, that just got torn down today.
Yeah. That's shed it here.
Yep.
I mean, that's the one for Tornado.
No, this is the one for Marshall Road.
Houses.
So we've already signed one of these for one of the people.
A lot of videos of that house coming down today.
It's a bunch of lots together.
Marshall Road.
Oh, that's down?
Yeah, they took it down today or yesterday.
Oh,
Said people say after waiting 30 years to see this happen.
wow.
So I got one other thing, if I can bring it up.
Sure.
So I got a call from Robert Stewart today about the project that's going to be there. Concerned about the shape of the building that's going to be revamped. And, you know, if someone's going to get hurt donating their time to the town. Do you want me to check with Primex? See how they want volunteers that are going to refurb that building? The roof has come in and the floor's all caving in.
I think his letter stated that with adult supervision, he felt it would
Even if I fell off that roof, it's like,
6 feet off the ground.
it's not that tall.
Do you want me to just call Primex to make sure we're covered for that?
You can. They came in today, they wanted a letter from him saying it was safe for them to work on it. He wasn't comfortable saying that, but he was comfortable with the letter saying, as long as there's adult supervision.
Can't do anything.
Primex
It
is
can
good
be
with that.
refurbished, but you can certainly check with Primex too.
It's this is that letter from Robert.
Yeah, I did, that's just a really rough draft. I typed it up based on what he said. And then we can fix it up.
So did you call Primex already?
I don't think I have that.
I just,
I doubt it's that.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe ask them if that kind of wording is good.
Yeah, this is, you already got that.
Yeah, I got that one.
All right, the planning board enforcement action, not a request, so,
They just want us to send a letter. Tell them to cease and desist cutting, which they've already done anyway. But I think we just need something on record.
okay. So he's not grandfathered, we established that with, okay.
If you want me to work with Susan, draw something up and send him
Okay,
for signatures the next meeting or something.
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Already talked about the selectmen at the elections. We've got some requests for days off, I don't think that needs anyone's.
No.
Um,
Information.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And then there's one other thing. Tornado. abatement thing. And then the supplement.
There's a
Warrant.
bunch of those supplemental bills. They need all.
Sign all. Oh, good.
Yes.
Phil, is it okay if I make a motion to approve the minutes of July 6, 2020?
I would insist it. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Both sets of minutes, correct? Public and non-public. That's an addendum to their motion and second.
Carries.
I had one more question.
I have did we verify their insurance and everything for the baseball games?
They sent their insurance, yes.
Okay.
It was the only thing I was hung up on that. They weren't gonna pay, they were gonna give us a deposit, right? Is that the one we decided they would take $1,000 deposit? I haven't seen that yet. We do have their insurance.
What did we decide for them?
We're gonna take $1,000 deposit, and
Give it back.
if we had no issues, we'd refund it in September.
Right.
Okay, so I'll sign this, just make sure we get the,
Okay. I'll contact them.
anything else?
Well, we got one other thing here on the bottom of the agenda, requesting some extra pay for part-time employees to implement a backup procedures, which I think is important, so I would support that.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I move that we, encourage our staff to meet on Friday afternoons to develop backup plans for each other's
Oh, okay, yep.
responsibilities. Yep,
Second.
thank you.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Discussion. I think they're just doing what we asked them to do.
That's exactly correct, and they should get paid, I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Right.
And then there were also.
Oh, hang on, we got a motion and a second, so,
Sorry.
roll call vote on that?
Alessio?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Coombs?
Yes.
St. James?
Yes.
All in favor?
Okay, and the other thing on the desk here was the Castleberry Fair request.
Yeah, I was just gonna bring that up. This just came in, so I sent them an email back saying, I'll bring it up just to find out if it'd be amenable to something like that. If so, they still need to submit the permit, special event permit, and there will be a fee involved.
Yes, and they have to adhere to the same standards that the Vintage Bazaar
Right.
did.
And they talk about that in this letter here, that they would be programmed, COVID
Yeah, they sent more.
secure, and,
Well, they talked a lot about COVID, but I didn't see anything about them cleaning up and having,
oh, they didn't say anything about that.
yeah. So, we want,
Pay the fee and
yeah, paying off the detail guys and,
Okay,
So I'll send her the form then.
there you go.
So, that'll come back, right? We're just gonna tell them to do the permit process?
yeah, they'll have to submit the paperwork and then we can go from there. So, P.F. Pope, the gentleman who spoke to us was via Zoom, to establish the employee retirement thing that doesn't cost us anything.
Right,
Do I have the board's permission to sign this on our behalf?
yes, you do.
Yes.
Which I think we've already given you.
Yeah, I think we did.
Yes, you did.
Yep.
That's the one that's got stickies, just because there's a lot of signature lines that don't pertain to you.
Anything else?
Anything else? I want a motion to go into non-public on a personnel issue.
Okay.
Brief discussion.
I'll second that.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Okay, that will conclude the televised portion of this evening's meeting. Have a good night.
And you can go home.